This is Cityspeak, a student-led exploration of the built environment. This is the pilot episode created by students who put their time, their questions and their care into listening to the city. Every place holds people, these are their stories. And this is us, learning to listen.
Hello and welcome to Cityspeak. Cityspeak is a platform for the quiet, the strange, the ordinary, the forgotten, the beautiful, and everything in between. Built on the belief that every place, every person, and every story has meaning, even when that meaning is hidden, overlooked, or uncomfortable. We approach the built environment not as a collection of buildings, but as a living field of people, experiences, histories, contradictions, and voices. I'm your host, Stephen, and this is the first episode of Cityspeak, making the invisible visible and drawing attention to the cities hiding in plain sight. While one might think of towering buildings, the built environment is often seen in the most unlikely places. Homes are made in the fantasy world of amusement parks like the Efteling and the self-sustaining military camps everywhere, and often even buried much closer to home in the depths of the psyche every time you are lost in IKEA. Cities are found everywhere, as long as you choose to find them.
Cities are incredibly complex organisms, made up of countless moving pieces within its ever-changing built environment. These ecosystems vary greatly in scale, ranging from housing tens of millions of people to less than 100. Their purposes are incredibly varied and multifaceted, and so too is the built environment which they find themselves in. But what about more niche applications of urbanism, whose purposes are much more defined and specialized? After some brainstorming and research to back up our suspicions, we delved into two examples of urbanism used in unlikely places, each with their own unusual aims. These places aren't an urbanist's first thought when thinking of what projects they'll be tackling, usually going unnoticed. And yet they need them just as much as any other city would. First up are military camps, more specifically North Carolina's Fort Bragg. Taking our first steps, we notice that this is not just another military camp. In fact, it feels much more like a decently sized city, and that's because it is. This is the world's largest military camp, permanently housing over 50,000 active duty personnel and covering more than 49 square kilometers. Much like any other city, this camp has housing, shops, a road network, and facilities, be them gas, water, or electricity. On top of that, we can see medical centers, which are definitely needed in such a place. Surprisingly, there are also educational facilities, as whole families are raised within this camp. This allows for elementary and middle school education without ever leaving post. Now, on the outskirts of the camp, we find large swaths of cleared-out greenery, not a tree in sight. This is unusual. While historical cities may have had walls for protection, this is an exclusion zone, a cleared-out area surrounding an important target, effectively removing any cover that might have otherwise sheltered attacking forces. Walking a bit further, we see a small flight path, its position dictating where buildings can't go. And not far from here is a shooting range, tactically placed to dampen its noise as much as possible. After having seen so many heavy-duty vehicles right atop these roads, it comes as no surprise that they're reinforced to sustain such crushing weight countless times a day. Bidding farewell to North Carolina, we're now headed to Europe, more specifically the Netherlands. Setting out to explore the country's most famous amusement park, the Efteling, we'll dissect it as a product of urbanism. This is a park of fantastical landscapes, fairies and enchanted forests, haunted houses and giant mushrooms, and so the Efteling's mission becomes clear: immersion. From the parking lot to its entrance, we are transported into an entirely new world. Many tricks are employed to heighten this experience. We spoke to a designer. He told us to take a good look at that far-off castle, or the top of these fantasy buildings. Don't they seem a little small? Well, he said the trick is to shrink the far-off environment. These places are inaccessible to the public and create a sense of the world being larger than it is. This forced perspective saves on maintenance and construction cost, all the while immersing guests deeper into the fairy tale world of the park. It goes without saying that anything which may break the immersion must stay out of sight. And so in this fantasy setting, we see very little wiring, and the ride mechanisms are concealed behind castle set pieces and overgrown vines. Traversing these streets is quite easy, partially due to the hub-and-spoke system which is utilized. This layout has main hubs which are connected to other points of interest, in this case the rides, and between themselves create a comprehensive and accessible network. At a city level, the terminology used for this kind of layout would be monumental typology, following the same principle of hubs, usually centered around monuments, and connecting boulevards. Paris is the paragon for said city typology. After all this research, we decided to go out in the field and see these findings for ourselves. While Fort Liberty stood further away than we were okay with traveling, and the Efteling posed a financial barrier, a third place presented itself right at our doorstep, hidden in plain sight. Lo and behold, Breda's very own IKEA. After ascending countless escalators from the parking lot, we reached the top floor. The smell of meatballs overwhelms our senses, standing this close to the restaurant. But no, that's not what we came here for. Let's not give in to the temptation and quickly make our way to the showroom. Here, much like in the Efteling, we are transported into another reality, though the setting is a tad less fantastical, immersed into standalone kitchens, bedrooms, and bathrooms. Since pretty much nothing is off limits, we make sure to explore these displays for study purposes. These microwaves are empty. The drawers are filled with jars full of paper cutout pickles. This cake is fake. And the windows, that's wallpaper behind them. There's virtually no natural light. And how are we supposed to gauge the time outside? Anyway, walking through the showroom, we notice there's a very peculiar layout in use. Certainly something you wouldn't see at a military camp. These paths twist and turn, sectioned off by walls, and it gives off an almost labyrinth feel to it. Snaking our way through, we reach a set of stairs leading down to the market hall. The same windowless, maze-like layout applies down here, only now instead of rooms being displayed, it's arrays of products which cover the walls and fill the shelves. After having passed the market hall and the ensuing warehouse section, we go past the checkout, not without grabbing a shelf or two. Finally getting to some natural light, it seems we've spent more than 2 hours inside of there. Most likely due to all those winding paths and a lack of real windows. This paired with how fun it is to interact with every piece of furniture. Turns out there's a name for this phenomenon. It's called the Gruen effect, which pretty much consists of purposely disorienting people through confusing layouts of shopping malls or even, in this case, stores, so that these people lose track of their original intentions and become more susceptible to making impulse purchases. Since it's already this late, might as well try out the IKEA's restaurant, again, for study purposes. Having researched and explored these unusual applications of urbanism, varying as much in scale as in function, it's notable how these places aren't necessarily hidden or even infrequent. But by seeing them through the lens of urbanism, we shed light on an often unnoticed and unappreciated side of theirs. From the exclusion zones that must be accounted for in military camps to all the moving pieces hidden in the background of amusement parks, these unique traits of theirs answer to specific problems, stemming from idiosyncratic circumstances, which would otherwise not be seen anywhere else. Next time you step foot into an IKEA, amusement park, or a military camp, I hope you'll see them in a different light, that of a living, breathing city. Oh, hey Janice.
Hey Robert.
What brings you to the coffee corner?
To get coffee?
Now that's something.
That's what you're supposed to do.
Anyways, don't you ever get this insatiable urge to talk about the weird and wonderful aspects of the built environment?
I mean, yeah, I guess there are some topics that I would like to indulge in more, but you know, the stuff we talk in class is also interesting. I mean, I guess it is true. Sometimes I do want to, talk about traffic lights or something.
Exactly. I just can't get them off my mind, you know?
Yeah.
Check it out. They renewed the poster wall.
Oh, Master the Blade joined the Barber Club. Philomena without Kunk.
This one's got a funny name. Cityspeak.
What's that about?
Oh my. It seems to be the solution to the exact problem we were just having. It is a podcast in which we are encouraged to talk about the weird and wonderful aspects of the built environment.
that just seems like a perfect coincidence. It almost seems like this is a sketch.
Anyways, did I also tell you that it is a pro module?
I mean, I get to choose between learning useful skills for my future workforce that I want to get employed to, or the source of endless delight and fun, but still educational? Where do I sign up?
Breaking news. They want to build a highway in the middle of Amsterdam. American planner David A. Jokinen wants to follow up his plan from the Jokinen Plan of The Hague from 1962, adding a 6-lane highway on top of the Singelgrachtkanal, demolishing neighborhoods such as the Pijp and Kinkerbuurt. It is meant to be a new central business district with high-rise offices. It will include monorail connections between parking garages and the city center, a new central station in the area of Weteringcircuit, and has the goal of revitalizing the city. Local residents feared the destruction of historic buildings and increase of road accidents, which had been 3,000 in the past year. With the growing numbers of office buildings, which have already displayed 54,000 residents, the possible economic boom and the popularity of car ownership, the plan almost inevitable. Wages are growing by 25% and 20% of people already own a car in the Netherlands. Car cost 1/4 of the majority household's income. Politician Joop den Uyl, current alderman of Amsterdam, mentions the democratic right for workers to have their own automobile. We are just missing the approval of the plan, which most likely will be passed on in 1967. Wearing his iron pants and shiny nylons, modern man is becoming too spoiled to confront the mud and the rain barefaced, is what urban planner Jan Petri mentioned in the Volkshuisvesting. And now, back to Steven.
In our Student Affairs segment, we bring students together to talk about the curriculum, what's working, what's challenging, and what it actually feels like to learn here. It's a space to step back and think out loud about how learning happens, when it really sticks, and why education matters beyond grades and deadlines. At its heart, this is a conversation about learning as a shared experience, one that shapes not just what we know, but who we become and how we show up in the world.
Most of us students want to do decently well in our in-class assignments. But let us remember that we are students in the first place, and therefore our first priority is to pass the course and get our diploma. But hang on a second, what does this do to creativity and originality? Do they perhaps get consigned into second place because of all this?
As students that maybe start a degree like this for the design of it, for the creative freedom to practice and learn and rework things in the urban field, it's a little bit difficult to see where the lines of good work are actually drawn. As a university, there's an importance on fostering this development in students and the way they turn into professionals, develop a style for the work that they do and enjoy doing. But at the same time, whatever's delivered needs to be accessible, it needs to be gradable. Students need to be awarded a diploma for having completed a certain amount of work.
In the Student Affairs segment, we want to hear what students think. Hence why we organized a roundtable of students from the first and second and fourth year of the built environment and other courses as well. And we picked out two students, Zef from the first year and Suat from the second year of built environment, who we thought had the most interesting points on this issue. Let us listen in to what they think about this.
I'd say so, yes. At the end of the day, I do try my hardest to get as much to learn something. Like I do want to learn something. Otherwise, I would not be here. But I mean, at some point in the phases of doing a project, you get to a point where you're like, I'm gonna get a grade in a few weeks, and then you're like, I don't care about all the things I'm learning. I have to get that good grade. So I think we're all somehow conditioned into it.
Yeah, I'd say the same for me. You know, like it is sometimes just about checking off boxes when it comes to the way the rubric is.
Zeth gets into an interesting point at the end there, where the rubric doesn't exactly leave a lot of space for students to try new things.
But what I was interested in the interview that we did was that Suat did a different study prior to built environment. So I would like to have a listen to what she thought of the system they had there and whether that was better for her creativity.
There we had classes to learn the tools, and then we could kind of apply them however we want to. And that with the pass and fail system was really helpful, and it felt more freeing. So from my experience, I was more focused on learning and having a perfect product to my standards.
She makes a differentiation there between her standards and then the grading standards.
She said that they used a pass-fail system, whereby you do not have a system of a grade from 0 to 10, but you are merely told whether you fail or whether you pass a project, and not by how much you fail and by how much you pass.
There's less space in that system for improvement and for I almost did better, or I could have done worse. It's either you do or you don't, which I think can really change the way that students feel about their work.
And now at BUas in the second year, she says this even changes her behavior. Listen to what she says.
While here, I feel like I'm putting more energy in walking around and saying, do you think this is sufficient enough for the teacher? I'm actually going around and asking for validation basically from other people. I'm like, do you think the teacher's gonna be happy with this?
Here she basically talks more about validation regarding what the teachers may want, and basically forgetting what her own personal standards are.
She mentioned she kind of like relies on her peers, like the other students, to approve her work to what the teachers may like. It's more of a collaborative effort on fitting the expectation of a teacher rather than her own personal feelings towards whether or not work is good enough, or whether she likes what she's doing, or if it's actually fulfilling her either creatively or professionally in any sense. It's just about kind of being seen as doing something right.
Essentially, the teachers become a priority to her, which can rather suck if you're expecting to be very creative when you come into built environment into the first year.
The first year, I went in thinking that I could use all my creativity, but we did have this box around us to kind of guide us, basically. And I'd say it was pretty limiting because we would learn a new tool, but we were not able to use it beyond that.
I really like her idea of the box here, where she kind of phrases the teachings of the tools that they use at school, the different methods that they use to show you how to learn about the environment and about the built environment. She says it's a box, which can be quite limiting.
It's a bit like floaties, this tool that helps you float in the basics without getting drowned a bit too much in the details. So in a way, this is necessary and essential, but
it can be almost supportive to a fault.
Precisely.
Where it's like, if you get so comfortable swimming in the kiddie pool with these floaties on, you never really learn how much you can step outside of that and really kind of trust yourself to swim. You end up not knowing how to design things in a way that you want to, or try things that you've never tried, because it can be quite limiting in those guidelines of how you're supposed to, in quotation marks, urban design.
What it ends up doing is basically it teaches you the only way of using a tool rather than how to apply a tool in the various circumstances and contexts where it will be useful to use that tool.
It gets complicated because these guidelines are also really important, because when you're a first year, you don't really know anything. But Zeth, as a first year, he refers to these guides kind of like walls.
Well, you know, like they put up these walls, right, for your creativity to push against. Mm-hmm. But like it seems like from your experience, from mine, from other people who have talked to the round table, that it's less of like these walls and more of, well, like a funnel, right?
That funnel that Zeth talks about, it's kind of, he phrases it like they're pushing these students towards the same narrow conclusions.
The process essentially happens in more or less the same ways. It's just repetition.
Mm-hmm. Everybody in the curriculum, everybody in the class is being taught the same methods and being taught the same way to draw a cross-section or to like plan out a master plan. And you have all these repeated conclusions with the same ideas between all of the same people.
You know what this reminds me of? The song Another Brick in the Wall.
Exactly. Pink Floyd, one of the best bands ever. No, explain that a little bit more. How so?
Because in that video clip, obviously, you have education as a machine, as a meat grinder that students walk into, and they are grinded into these uniform shapes that, in built environment, use the same tools in the same way, use the same methodologies.
To create the same buildings and the same urban design, urban
Precisely.
Environments. Yeah, so like this can really limit the way that students are actually allowed to be creative within their own course.
If you're not taught anything outside of this narrow scope, and then you're meant to let your creativity soar in the following year, well, I mean, if you set expectations about the way to complete, the rubric, and then you're graded a certain way, you're gonna get, I don't know, a little disillusioned with doing anything that isn't what you've already learned.
So what we are hearing is that people come into the domain of the built environment with big ideas, with expectations of creative freedom, and then ending up getting totally shut down by the uniform method of teaching.
Yeah, it's like you think when hearing design, or when hearing also applied sciences, you get given these, it gives this idea of creativity and of trying new things and of developing something again and again and over, but in a way that you kind of learn things. And I think these guys are talking here about how in the first year that illusion is sort of shattered and you realize this isn't exactly what you signed up for. And then I think that would have some major impacts on the second year as well, once you've kind of learned that that's how the system goes.
Right.
Yeah, and now going into the second year, we have the box is kind of removed.
Okay.
So you can do whatever you want. But I feel like you're still kind of going back into the box because you're like, feel more comfortable there.
Right.
Does the teacher expect me to use the tool that they taught me last year? Or do they prefer me to hand draw? So it's like we have the tools we learned in the first year, but it was more limiting at that point. It's like we taught you because we have to teach you. It's a valuable knowledge to have, but we'd rather have you do it this way.
Yeah.
So we're just limiting, and now I'm kind of going back into the box, like maybe you shouldn't do that. Yeah, because I'm like, it's gonna affect my grade, so I'm going back into it's going to affect my grade instead of doing what I think is best for my project.
Grades end up just being the priority here for students. There's all of this expectation that then gets disillusioned, and then suddenly students are left trying to match a rubric, make a grade, and make it through a degree that still they chose to do.
And if you think about this in the bigger picture, think of if we bring up a whole generation of architects, traffic engineers, landscapers, or planners who only tick off boxes or are only taught to tick off boxes and are not taught to create something more than that, what impact is that going to have on the built environment which we live in?
it's just all strictly uniform. It's the most efficient, fastest way to get something done, to make something stand where something should be, rather than having these landscapes kind of full of individual and authentic ideas and new innovations into the way that people engage with this environment. I feel like it in the big extreme picture of it all, it could have major repercussions if we're looking at the way that our cities are built.
Come to think of it, perhaps that's why a lot of buildings nowadays look the same.
Exactly. I think it's just one of the, when you get into a lot of different crises, like you've got the housing crisis and all of this, you need to find ways to fix that quickly. And I guess if the students are finding fast ways to get through the course as well, everything just happens super, super efficiently, which is maybe not the most effectively. But I don't know, this can also affect students immediately, like on the student level, in the well-being level, as students. This doesn't feel very freeing. It doesn't sound like it does.
It does not. Perhaps it is time to look at different methods of grading students. Perhaps revise or revisit the concept of grading as a whole and think of if it is necessary or even desirable in the domain of the built environment. In other words, I think we have to revise our priorities in our field.
I think students definitely have to as well revise their priorities of, do you want to be here if you're just here for a grade? Do you want to be here because you're trying to change things, or are you here because you want to learn? There's a whole different variation of reasons. And then also as a school, as a university, that's, I think, why feedback is so important, to hear from students about what they want and how they feel and how limiting or freeing the course can be.
But then the educational system also needs to revise its priorities on whether it wants to assess people as a priority or whether it wants to educate people and give them freedom of creative expression.
Movies with Maurizio.
Watching the city is sometimes just as immersive as living in it, and some of the best movies are shot, set, and built in environments we might never get to see. We asked our resident movie guy Maurizio about his favourite movies and the directors that made them, starting off with the beauty of Wong Kar-wai.
Perhaps one of the interesting films that I find in his work is Chungking Express, which is it's filmed in Hong Kong. And it talks about different stories which basically overlap with each other. And in all these stories, there is also a quite interesting sequence of time as related to the city. So that's one component that makes the stories very strong, but also very connected to Hong Kong as a location. So Chungking Express is one of.
It's also a very visual movie, right? So I haven't seen it, but I've heard that it's got a lot of slow shots that kind of show the location.
Yes.
Yeah, and does that create a sense of the city?
I think that it is a very important thing what you are saying, that the timing is always playing a very important role into relating the story to the places. So you can see a lot of films which are very much making a wise use of the timing, the speed, for example, or how slow it is, in order to emphasize whether the background of the story is a fast place, or like a place to rest, or a place for contemplation, for slow life. So that's the work of Wong Kar-wai, and then another film which is also interesting for its use of the built environment is Her from Spike Jonze. What is interesting in that film is that it is set in the future, and so it's a science fiction film which does not too much, let's say, speculate like other major films like Blade Runner that are really like forcing the perception of these super futuristic.
Create the sci-fi scene.
Exactly, but it has a lot of attention in recreating the city of the future with a lot of sensitivity in not exasperating this perception of the future. And in order to do that, then there is also this idea of merging two main cities where the story happens, which are Los Angeles and Shanghai. But compared to other films where you can also have multiple locations in a story, these two cities, they are not supposed to be different locations, but they are the same location. So basically, it's a sort of reflection also on globalization, no? Like how cities become the same whether you are in Asia or you are in America or you are in Europe. So the shots filmed in these two cities, they are meant to be filmed in the same city of the future. So that's quite an interesting take from the director in using those metropolis into a sort of futuristic concept where cities are the same no matter where you are. Then I can also mention a film from a Brazilian director. I think he's from a few years ago. I don't remember exactly which year. And the film is called Divino Amor, and it's from Gabriel Mascaro, which is from Brazil. And the interesting thing is that he's also talking about religion in the future. So how religion, the religious background of this community in Brazil is also conditioning love stories, and I won't spoil the story if you want to watch the movie, but
just keep it secret.
I suggest to watch it. But in all of these, there is again a future city as a background, so which is a little bit science fiction. But again, like the other film that I mentioned, it's not the main focus of the film, but it's just using the city as the background to explain, to show this evolution of the society and the values of the society. So that's and there is a very powerful visual component, as you said, which makes it quite worth to watch.
Thank you so much. Those are some amazing recommendations. I'm gonna have to go watch them.
Today we had a conversation with Dennis Albers, the CEO and founder of Blind Walls Gallery, a project that turns the city into a gallery with more than 170 murals across Breda. He's a specialist in turning blank walls into museums that tell stories of the city and its people. His work is artistry that combines with working in the community, by and for the residents that pass these artworks every day, as much of a social project as an artistic one. We will start the interview where it all began.
In 1998, I moved to Breda to study at St. Joost. I studied painting and printmaking. And after I graduated, many of the other students, they moved to Rotterdam or Amsterdam because those have more vibrant artistic scenes. And I was like, I kind of like it here in Breda. Indeed, there's not much happening for artists, but maybe we can make a change. After about 3 years in my artistic career, I noticed that presenting the works of others gave me more joy than creating art myself. And I was like, okay, let's focus on my own initiatives. So at a certain point in 2014, we decided to do murals during the festival. We were looking for cheap ways of doing stuff in public, but also making a bit more lasting impact. I vividly remember that the first mural we made, like after 2 minutes in the game, like we only painted like a few strokes on the wall. There were already people going by like, whoa, thank you for doing this. I feel so much more safe here. Or it already looks better. And it was like, well, we just started. And this was something we didn't think of when we started, but there is a lot of impact from what we do. And over the years, we learned a lot about this and really made it part of our practice. So it's not only about the artistic performance, it's not just about creating a mural, but creating impact together with the local residents and communities.
I mean, it's so interesting hearing you tell your story, particularly because there's an interface with municipalities who typically want to control and order space, versus art, which is something quite organic, doesn't obey any rules. How have you managed that tension?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think it's a good observation, like having those two sort of opposites. And I often see myself as a translator in between, because I know the artistic world, but I also happen to know how things work in the other side. Yeah, what we try to do is connect those in a way that both parties are still happy. And the place where we started was already a vacant space right in the city center for decades. There was a new plan in development, like this would be like the next shopping mall thing in 3 years from that moment. And the funny thing is, like, those plans never happened. So the paintings, like, we're almost 12 years later now, still there, and actually led to I think the most visited and most photographed walls in the city. So it's funny how it works.
So the journey started about 2015, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, 2014 we had the first murals. Officially it started in 2015, because then we did another festival. And we're like, yeah, we want to do more murals, but if we do murals every edition of the festival, you know, we were always doing other stuff, and so it didn't really make sense. So we decided that it would be a separate brand, and later it even became a separate organization.
Yeah. The quote by Picasso is, "We are all born artists, but the trick is to remain one as we grow up." You've clearly been able to make a living from what you do, to sustain yourself but others as well. What is that essential thing that you can say that is the glue that sticks the community together, that sustains the motivation for the organization?
Yeah, I think truly believing in what you do, but also getting the right feedback in the right time is very important. So I think it has a lot to do of finding the right people surrounding your initiative or organization or team that are supportive and that see value in what you do. Especially if you look at our relation with the municipality. Like when we started, we only had a relationship with the cultural department because they were funding us. But now we have a relationship with almost every department they have, because there's so much involved, ranging from permits, but also to commissions they give us. Like, you know, they want a mural to celebrate all the volunteers that are in Breda, or you know, if there's places that might feel unsafe, can a mural help in creating safer spaces? And here we managed to sort of flip it and into a way of creating identity for a place. And this is the input we provide to the artist. And then the artists are free to interpret this. But in that sense, you always get a connection to the location rather than an artist projecting their work. So, you know, if we can make it work for them, that's the most important. And when we started, artists didn't really like this approach. They were like, you know, is this a commission? Should I charge more now? I just want to do whatever I do anywhere. And we were saying, no, you know, there's murals everywhere. So we want these murals to be so specific that they can only exist here. And I can see there's more and more artists that have integrated this way of working into their own practice. So instead of just creating what they want to create, they try to listen to what's going on and then combine this with their way of visualizing.
It's so wonderful because you touched on the municipality, the rules, them learning how to enable public art. And I think for built environment students, that's particularly important. How to think about enabling through legislation, right?
Yeah, we always have such difficulties engaging with people living in a certain area. If we want to talk about energy transition or like big topics, when we have a discussion with people living in a certain area, the discussion is 50 minutes about stuff that needs to be fixed, or people that are fighting each other or whatsoever, and then it's 10 minutes about painting. But then in the end of the process, they all come together and they celebrate the painting and they see, oh, there's actually a result. And the result is also part due to us, because we came together, we discussed, and now there's actually something happening.
We spoke about goals. It's been 10 years. What does the future look like?
Yeah, that's funny. Like 10 years ago, we didn't have a goal, and I'm perfectly fine with that. No, there's always goals in terms of artistic practice, in terms of the way the murals are spread over the city. Like it started in the city center, but now it's like spreading to the suburbs and what I like is that there's certain areas in Breda that somehow feel disconnected to the city. They feel left behind, or they have a lot of difficulties by themselves. And I think one of the best compliments we ever got was from a neighbor that came to the opening of a mural, said, "Well, now we finally belong to the city again because we have one." And that really touched me. So I was like, that would be nice if we can have murals in every area of the city so people really feel connected. I think goals are more on a social level or more educational also, to get like every school kid in Breda on a tour during their school career, and maybe even twice. Finding new ways of engaging with communities. We found our own methods of working and our own processes, but they're not carved in stone. So, exploring more opportunities of working with residents, and also maybe getting them artistically involved in the sense that they can actually pick up a brush and paint, because that's the work the artists still do. But sometimes we have projects in which they can participate, and they like it so much.
We were talking about hyper-individual society that we're moving towards. What is the role of public art in the face of me, and I?
Yeah. Oh, that's an interesting question. What I noticed in the way we work, so public art can be devised in different manners. Like, there's municipalities that just commission an artist and put the art out on the street. We prefer to view in an area and find the right stakeholders and start a discussion with them on not what they want to see, because they don't know what they want to see. So we start with questions about what makes the place special, or how they interact with each other. Or sometimes you notice that they don't interact as much as they did in the past. So that can be also a topic of the mural. But then also by involving as many people as we can, they need to interact. Often people that live in a building, they think they have the best say in the process because it's their building and we want this, we want that. But then think about the person living on the opposite side of the street, because they're actually looking at this painting every day, while the people that live in the building, they don't see it because they're inside that wall. So it's nice that in this sort of joint discussion about the mural, they really have to consider each other's points of view, literally and figuratively, and together decide on what would be the best choice. And since we do a lot of the process in person, I think that helps to sort of overcome this.
So Dennis, if you could think of a song that's related to either your mural or the work that you've done, what would that song be?
I think I like, in our practice, not everything we do is legal. And especially in the beginning, we would say it's easier to get forgiven than to be granted permission. So this is more or less a punk attitude. So there's a young group from Rotterdam. It's called Young Robbie, and they have a song called Radicaal Illegaal. And it's not really about our practice, but I just like the sound, and I think it would be a nice opener for your playlist.
Fantastic. Thank you so much on behalf of the team and here at Cityspeak. Thanks for the time, and thanks for feeding our city with the soul you give it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
In this segment, we dive into the minds of changemakers, thought leaders, and a few well-placed rebels who are reshaping our cities. They share their stories, reflect on where they come from, and give us a glimpse into the meaning they create in places, in communities, and in everyday urban life. These are their voices.
If you had 4 favorite cities, what would you pick?
Tough.
You haven't seen much of the world yet.
Breda.
Of course, Breda. Breda is by far my favorite city.
I really love Breda.
Breda, Copenhagen,
Copenhagen.
Vienna, Murcia. I do really like Utrecht. I live there.
I like Utrecht. I live there.
Utrecht,
Toronto. Prague.
Den Bosch,
Seoul. South Korea.
Mexico City, Kotor in the Balkans,
Vilnius.
Kiev.
New York.
New York.
Beijing. Tokyo.
Monaco.
I think we both like London a lot. Berlin. Amsterdam. Warsaw. Rotterdam, of course.
Bangkok. I like.
Barcelona was cool.
Hi, welcome to Cityspeak. I would like to start by asking you to introduce yourself with your name, where you're from, and what you do.
I'm Olivia Meng. I grew up in the Netherlands and I work at Arab as an architect and urban designer.
My name is Joep van Baast and I'm an urbanist.
I'm Sjors Martens. I am a mobility lecturer and I teach here in Breda for 5 years now.
Hi, I'm Sebastian. I'm an international urban planner from the international track. I'm originally from Romania and been here for 4 years.
And I'm Kelvin from the Netherlands.
I'm Jeroen Bruins. I'm the alderman of the city of Breda and once student of the BUas University.
My name's Greg Hart. I'm from Calgary in Canada. I have a couple of different companies that I founded, and I'm part of the faculty of the School of Architecture, Planning and Landscape at the University of Calgary as well.
My name is Karina Yurkova. I'm a lecturer in built environment at Breda University of Applied Sciences. I am originally from Russia, from Moscow.
And I'm Dariana de Freitas. I'm from Venezuela originally. Yeah, and I'm a mobility advisor currently in a consultancy company in Delft called Future Mobility Network.
My name is Daan. I live in Amsterdam and I'm a landscape designer.
My name is Peter. I'm living in the Netherlands, in the north of the country, and I'm an entrepreneur.
My name is Sam van Hoesel. I'm 27 years old. I'm from Limburg, Netherlands. I'm working for a consulting company, Grenspaal 12.
So I'm Melle Mellema. I'm from Leiden and now I work as a traffic psychologist in Breda.
I'm Angela Korteven and I'm an urban designer at the municipality of Rotterdam.
My name is Ivo Diedeman. I live in Breda and I'm a landscape architect and urban designer.
My name is Maria Chernova. I'm originally from Ukraine, from Odessa. I'm a graduate from the Built Environment faculty and I'm specializing in urban planning.
So you enjoy it?
Yeah, I really enjoy it.
Yeah, I really like it. I do actually. Working on your own hometown, it's the nicest thing you can do.
Yeah, absolutely. It's fulfilling because the reason that somebody is a designer, as far as I'm concerned, is to improve the world.
Do you have any projects that you've worked on that you found most fulfilling?
Improving a connection between two stations because Amsterdam is expanding on their housing in the north of the city.
It's an industrial terrain with large manufacturing halls, which we are now transforming to dwellings and other interesting functions on the terrain. It's like really bottom up.
I did a PhD in games, city games, and then end up in mobility.
I did an internship for the municipality of Leiden, where I've worked on the local economic development of the city.
And I had an internship at the province of North Brabant, where I kind of helped with the housing issue and how to move the flow of the market.
What I do is I connect the cities that I'm working with in North America with the minor program in BUas.
We have a company this together. We did do one project which was outside of both of our area of expertise, which was a landscape architecture design for an individual garden for a row house in the Netherlands.
We were given a lot of trust by the municipality to come up with a new way to create a place for them, MFA, multifunctional building, and that also rebuilding their marketplace. If you're wondering where Google Maps or Apple Maps get the data from, it's our company. We work with a lot of government, cities, contractors. We own a data portal. Cities can input their roadworks through our platform.
Currently, I'm working on the Schiekade block. It's an area near the station in Rotterdam, and it's going to be redeveloped.
The redesign of a street in Groningen, north of the Netherlands. It's 1 kilometer long and it was completely concrete. And we tried to make it as green as possible and as less pavement.
My thesis is technically about process management and process optimization for decision making within the municipality.
What would you consider being like your expertise in urbanism?
the public space.
Traffic management.
Urban planning.
I think it's the superior track.
The political side of it, citizen engagement, strategic design.
Bringing out stories and making everything work together is kind of what I enjoy most.
Traffic safety, road design.
Urban design.
Social study.
Behavior and mobility, and where that collides.
I think it's really designing the public space within the city.
The pursuit of the integrated decision making is what I want to do. And as one final question before we leave is, if you had a song to recommend for us, what would you recommend?
Bruce Springsteen, Wages of Sin. De nieuwe carnavalsong van Vulgaire.
LJ.
Yeah, for me personally.
A record from Rodriguez.
West Coast Love by Emotional Oranges.
Sum 41, Still Waiting.
One Drop by Bob Marley.
Vivo Forever.
Anything from Joy Division.
Lacrimosa.
Thank you for your time. It was lovely to meet you.
This episode of Cityspeak was created by
Noralie de Koning,
Tomaas Neefs-Grams,
Teun Rijns,
Evelien de Waard,
Daniel Valerio García Díaz, Melanie Banjalai,
Maciej Szewczyk.
produced by
Haley Seger.
editorial lead Thomas Mahu, music by So Liquid. I'm your host Stephen Nasu.
Wherever you are right now, walking, traveling, waiting, take a moment to notice the space around you. Because the city is always speaking. You just have to listen. This was Cityspeak.